Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Love and War Story. Follow Captain Chen and Admiral Jiao as they lead the charge to liberate oppressed worlds and shape a new future for the galaxy. The battle isn't over yet, but Earth has proven it can outsmart the Concord and fight back. What will humanity's place be in the stars? Join the journey and share your thoughts. Will Earth triumph, or is there more to this war than meets the eye? Let us know in the comments. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the unexpected occurred. The sky, once calm and filled with the warmth of early daylight, was suddenly shattered by the appearance of something far beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. A massive alien ship, far larger than any structure ever built by humankind, descended into Earth's atmosphere. It was a silent giant, a monolith of metal and unknown material, hanging ominously above the world. The sheer scale of the ship was beyond comprehension. Its presence cast a shadow over entire cities as it hovered like a dark, unmoving cloud in the sky. People all around the world stopped in their tracks, eyes drawn upward, mesmerized and terrified all at once. The streets, usually bustling with life, became eerily quiet as humans collectively held their breath, trying to process the impossible sight before them. News channels scrambled to broadcast the event, while world leaders appeared on screens, attempting to maintain composure. "We should be afraid," said President Malik, his voice steady but his eyes betraying the fear he couldn't mask. But most people, they just feel curious. As the moments stretched on, there was no sound of engines, no hum of technology, just a heavy stillness that seemed to warp the very air around them. The people below felt as if time itself had slowed, as if the world had come to a halt, waiting for what was to come. Then, without warning, 3 smaller ships detached from the colossal vessel. These ships, unlike anything seen in human history, were sleek and elegant, their surfaces reflecting the light in a shimmering cascade of blues and greens. They descended with perfect precision, their engines emitting a soft, almost musical hum as they landed in an open field outside New York. The ground trembled lightly beneath them, and the people on the streets collectively held their breath as the ships came to rest. A deep hiss echoed through the air, and the doors of the smaller ships opened slowly, releasing a thick cloud of mist that hung for a moment before dissipating. Out of the mist, they emerged. The aliens who stepped out were unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Their forms were tall, their bodies slender yet muscular, clothed in flowing metallic robes that seemed to shimmer with their every movement. Their skin was a striking shade of blue-gray, a color that seemed to shift with the light, reflecting the surrounding world in strange, otherworldly ways. The most striking feature of these beings were their heads, long and narrow, with 3 large eyes arranged in a perfect triangular pattern across their faces. The eyes gleamed with a sharp intelligence, glowing softly as they scanned the environment. Their forearms, slender yet strong, moved with grace, and their legs, though humanoid in shape, bent backward at the knee, giving them an almost bird-like gait. The tallest among them, who appeared to be their leader, stepped forward and raised one of his 4 hands in a gesture of peace. In a voice that was clear and precise, he spoke in perfect English, though his tone carried an eerie resonance, as though it reverberated from far beyond the limits of the Earth. "We are the Trallian people," the alien leader announced. "We speak for the Galactic Concord, an alliance of 117 species across the stars. We have watched your world for some time." The humans below, overwhelmed by the sight, could hardly comprehend what was happening. A strange silence followed the aliens' words, broken only by the whispers of astonished citizens. President Malik, visibly nervous but resolute, stepped forward to address the visitors. His voice wavered slightly as he spoke. "We welcome you to Earth," the president said, his hands trembling as he extended them in a diplomatic gesture. "I speak for humanity." The Trallian leader, known as Ambassador Zorkel, smiled with a set of small, square teeth, which seemed more akin to polished bone than human teeth. It was an unsettling smile, cold and measured. "Your species has advanced quickly," Zorkel remarked, his eyes studying the humans below. "Too quickly, some would say." There was a momentary pause, as the alien's words sank in. The silence stretched on, until Zorkel continued. "We offer you a proposition. Join the Galactic Concord, and in return, you will gain access to the vast knowledge and technology of our alliance. You will be given the ability to travel the stars, learn from species older than your own, and access technologies that will propel your species into a new age of enlightenment. But there are limitations." His voice deepened slightly, the gravity of his words sinking in. We will restrict your development of certain advanced technologies, particularly those that could pose a threat to the peace of the galaxy." The president and the leaders of the world stood in stunned silence, the weight of the aliens' proposal pressing down on them. The deal seemed too good to refuse, but the restrictions were an ominous sign of the power the Concord held over them. However, publicly, Earth had no choice but to agree. "We accept your offer," President Malik declared, his voice steady now, though a part of him knew that Earth had just crossed into a new era, one they didn't fully understand. But behind closed doors, humanity had other plans. In secret labs beneath the surface of Earth, governments and military leaders had already begun to work on their own forbidden technologies. Though the public accepted the restrictions, there was an undercurrent of rebellion, a quiet defiance among humans who believed that the future of Earth shouldn't be controlled by anyone, especially not the Galactic Concord. Thus, the deal was made, and Earth became a member of the Galactic Concord, at least in name. But within the hearts and minds of humanity, the true fight was just beginning. 5 years had passed. Earth had joined the Galactic Concord, and the aliens had set up a massive observation post in orbit around Earth. From the surface, it appeared as nothing more than a silent satellite, a cold, metallic object that watched the planet with the calm indifference of a sentient machine. But humanity knew better. The post was not just a monitor, it was a reminder. A constant presence of the Concord, silently judging Earth's every move, tracking every development. It was clear that Earth's place in the galaxy was more of a test than an alliance. The people, though outwardly obedient, had begun to sense the suffocating weight of their constraints. Over the years, the once bright hope of joining the stars had turned to frustration. Scientists whispered about the technologies they were forbidden to explore: genetic engineering, warp drives, even simple advancements that could put humanity on equal footing with other galactic species. The leaders of Earth, while officially compliant with the Concord's rules, were making secret plans of their own. And at the forefront of these plans stood Captain Chen. Maya was no ordinary leader. She had been one of the first to pilot Earth's experimental spacecraft and had witnessed firsthand the power and potential of the technologies the Concord had forbidden humanity to explore. Standing on the bridge of the Defiance, Earth's first faster-than-light ship, she could feel the hum of the engines as they powered up for the journey ahead. The sleek silhouette of the ship cut through the blackness of space with a promise of freedom. "We're ready for the jump," Harridge, her first officer, said, his voice steady and full of anticipation. His hands hovered over the controls, prepared to engage the ship's engines. He had been Maya's most trusted ally throughout this covert mission, one that would change everything. Maya nodded, her sharp eyes fixed on the console. "Let's see what the aliens don't want us to see." The engines roared to life, and the stars outside the viewport blurred into streaks of light as the Defiance tore through hyperspace. In moments, Earth was a distant memory, a mere dot in the vastness of the galaxy. The ship hummed with energy, its sleek frame designed with a hybrid of human ingenuity and stolen alien technology, a ship that should not exist, but did, because humans refused to follow the boundaries set by the Galactic Concord. After 3 days of travel, the ship dropped out of hyperspace into a star system unlike any the Concord had shared with Earth. The system was surrounded by debris, large, broken chunks of what had once been a vibrant world. The planet at the center of the system, now little more than a shattered husk, was encircled by glowing rings of dust and rock. It was an eerie, beautiful sight, a silent testament to the devastation that had occurred here. "Scans show life signs," Harridge reported, his voice tinged with both curiosity and concern. "And artificial structures. There's something here." Maya's heart quickened. She could sense it, the same feeling she had had when she first stepped aboard the Defiance. This planet held secrets. And the Concord had kept them hidden from humanity. As they made their way through the debris, the ship's scanners picked up faint signs of activity beneath the surface of the planet. Maya's pulse quickened as the ship descended toward a massive, ruined structure, its jagged edges still sharp, despite the years of decay. Once a thriving city, now a graveyard of stone and metal. They landed near what appeared to be the remnants of a sprawling cityscape, the tall towers half collapsed, buried beneath centuries of dust. Maya led a team of her crew members out onto the surface, clad in protective suits, their boots crunching against the broken remnants of the city's streets. The air was thin, but breathable enough to keep them alive, for now. As they explored the ruins, they discovered strange symbols etched into the walls of the buildings, markings that looked like nothing they had ever seen. The language was completely foreign, yet it seemed oddly familiar, as though it were designed to communicate with more than just words, perhaps with emotions or thoughts, things that humans couldn't yet comprehend. "Someone's down there," Maya said, her voice low. The team's scanners picked up faint life signs coming from deep beneath the rubble. "Let's dig." With the help of tools scavenged from the Asterisk Defiance, they unearthed a hidden hatch beneath a pile of debris. The door was old, its metal surface pocked and scarred, but it still opened with a soft hiss as Maya keyed in the access code. Inside, they found the remains of a once thriving underground facility. The walls were lined with glowing consoles, many still active, displaying strange alien data. It was a technological paradise, buried beneath the surface for reasons unknown. And in the midst of this tomb, huddled in a small, shadowed corner, were 12 beings, pale green, with 4 eyes and features that seemed partially organic and partially mechanical. These were the Cidians, a species once thought to be lost to history. At first, the Cidians flinched, their bodies tensing as the humans approached. But Maya stepped forward, raising her empty hands in a gesture of peace. "We come in peace," Maya said gently, her voice calm. "We're not here to hurt you." The leader of the Cidians, a tall being with an aura of cautious authority, stepped forward. His 4 eyes blinked in quick succession, and his voice, though strained, was understandable. "You are not Concord enforcement," he said in broken galactic standard. "No," Maya replied, offering a reassuring smile. "We are humans from Earth." The Cidians froze in shock, their 4 eyes wide in disbelief. "The Concord, let you travel already?" Maya smiled slightly, her tone cryptic. "They didn't exactly let us." The Cidians explained their tragic story. They were a race of explorers and scientists, once a thriving civilization, until the Galactic Concord had intervened. The Concord had feared their advancements, specifically, their work with genetic engineering. The Cidians had developed technologies that pushed the boundaries of biology and artificial intelligence. But the Concord couldn't allow that. Any species that advanced too quickly, they explained, was seen as a threat. And so, the Cidians' world was destroyed, their knowledge suppressed, and their people scattered across the stars. The revelation struck Maya and her crew like a thunderclap. The Concord was not the benevolent force they had been led to believe. The peace they promised was nothing but a mask for control. The Cidians were just one of many civilizations whose progress had been stunted by the Concord's rigid rules. As Maya and her crew returned to Earth, carrying the knowledge of the Concord's true intentions, a sense of urgency began to take root. The rebellion had begun. And they would no longer be passive bystanders to the whims of a galactic empire. The human race was about to find its own way to the stars. Back on Earth, the human resistance against the Galactic Concord began to grow. While the Concord watched from Observation Post 7, Earth scientists, led by Dr. Elisa Okonkwo, made breakthroughs in forbidden technologies. They had developed the ability to communicate using quantum entanglement, bypassing the Concord's surveillance. Earth's underground labs were a far cry from the pristine and controlled research environments of the Concord. The air was heavy with the hum of machinery, the faint glow of glowing screens and data streams providing the only light in these secretive, darkened spaces. Dr. Okonkwo paced through the lab, her eyes darting from one screen to the next. Her team, a group of highly skilled engineers and scientists, worked feverishly, tweaking their experiments. They were standing on the precipice of something monumental. With each passing day, the quantum communication device they had developed became more sophisticated. It was a marvel of human ingenuity, bypassing the Concord's highly advanced encryption systems. Instead of using conventional forms of communication, which could easily be intercepted and decoded by the Concord's vast network, Dr. Okonkwo and her team had discovered a way to manipulate quantum particles, sending messages across vast distances in the blink of an eye, completely undetectable to the alien forces. It was a signal to the universe that humanity had found a way to communicate outside the watchful eyes of the Galactic Concord. But such advancements did not go unnoticed for long. The Concord had eyes everywhere, and even as the resistance flourished in the shadows, the aliens' paranoia and control over Earth tightened.
On the outskirts of human-controlled space, the Vrex, the Concord's enforcers, were called into action. These brutal, insectoid beings were known for their ruthlessness and cold efficiency. With their sharp, razor-like claws and armored exoskeletons, the Vrex were the perfect soldiers to suppress any uprising. They arrived on Non-Air, a small mining colony situated on the edge of Earth's empire. Non-Air had been a place of hard work and simple living for its inhabitants. Miners, many of them former military personnel, had made their lives there, extracting precious metals needed to fuel Earth's growing need for technology. However, the peace they enjoyed was shattered the moment the Vrex descended. The colony's alarms blared to life, sending echoes through the narrow mining tunnels. "We've got company," one of the miners shouted, rushing to the makeshift control room. A map of the colony flashed on the screen, showing multiple Vrex ships landing outside the colony's dome. The miners, though outgunned and outnumbered, were not unprepared. They had no military-grade weapons, for the Concord had forbidden them from owning such things, but they had mining equipment, laser drills, heavy machinery, and the determination to survive. The Vrex forces landed outside the colony, their sharp, insectal features and massive, intimidating forms striking fear into the hearts of the miners. But these miners weren't just workers, they were survivors. "Prepare for a fight," shouted Wei, the leader of the mining colony, his voice filled with urgency. "We've faced worse than this." The miners grabbed modified mining tools, converting their equipment into weapons, setting traps and barricades around the colony. When the Vrex soldiers charged, their glowing red eyes scanning the area for any signs of resistance, they walked right into the traps set by the miners. The sounds of lasers firing and explosions echoed through the narrow tunnels. Hours passed. The Vrex forces, unable to adapt to the environment and overconfident in their numbers, were driven back. In the end, the remaining Vrex retreated, their sleek ships lifting off the ground in a cloud of dust. The colony had held, but at great cost 8 miners lay dead. Their faces, hard with the weight of their struggle, stared up at the night sky, a reminder of the blood spilled in the name of freedom. "We lost 8, Wei said quietly, wiping the blood from his hands. "But we won." Back on Earth, as word of the colony's victory spread, humanity's hope grew. But the Concord wasn't going to let Earth escape so easily. Ethbar, the alien scientist who had warned of humanity's dangerous potential, sent another message to the Galactic Concord's High Council. His voice, usually calm and calculated, was filled with growing alarm. "These humans don't recognize limits. Not physical, not ethical, not technological. They will exceed every boundary we set." The council, ever so composed, did not immediately react. They had underestimated humanity before, but now, as Earth began to show its strength and resilience, their fears were no longer contained. The warning had been clear: humanity had begun to challenge the very core of the Concord's authority. They had tested the boundaries, and, for the first time, they had won. The High Council convened in the darkness of their hidden chambers, far from the prying eyes of the galaxy. It was time to make a decision. They had tried to contain the humans, to limit their knowledge and their development. But now, it seemed, the humans were fighting back in ways the Concord had never anticipated. They would have to take more drastic measures that would shake the foundation of Earth's resistance. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Okonkwo and her team were already preparing for the next phase of their rebellion. With the quantum communication technology in hand, they were making plans to share their knowledge with other human colonies, to reach out beyond the confines of Earth. The resistance had only just begun, and the fight for humanity's future was far from over. The Concord, as always, was watching. But this time, humanity was no longer waiting for their permission. The tension across Earth was palpable. Every moment felt like the last. News broadcasts buzzed with urgency, spreading the word that the Galactic Concord's fleet was preparing to descend upon Earth. Their message was clear: humanity's rebellion had gone too far, and they would be crushed without mercy. The countdown had begun. Earth's leaders, under Admiral Jiao's command, prepared for what seemed like an inevitable end. Yet beneath the surface of global panic, an unspoken confidence began to spread. Earth had more than one plan. And this was their final chance to fight back. Admiral Jiao stood in the command center, his sharp eyes scanning the large holographic map of Earth and its surrounding space.
"We have 7 days before they arrive," he said, his voice calm, though the weight of responsibility hung heavily on him. His crew, men and women from all walks of life, gathered around him, their faces stern but resolute. "It's time to launch Operation Phantom Exodus," Jiao declared. The plan was simple in its deception. Around the world, the message was clear: Earth was surrendering. The cities would be emptied, millions would flee the planet. The spaceports would be crowded with ships, their ramps descending to allow for the evacuation of humanity. The Concord's fleet would see the fleeing masses, their sensors detecting massive exoduses. It was the perfect ruse, an illusion of terror, an act to show the Concord that humanity was crumbling under the weight of their impending destruction. The spaceports were alive with movement, chaos on the surface but calm in the hidden depths. People packed their belongings hastily, boarding ships that appeared to be bound for distant colonies, their engines powered and their controls programmed. The Concord's forces, watching from their vantage points in orbit, took the bait. They observed as humans evacuated in droves, filling the ships with all their worldly possessions in hopes of escape. But the ships that lifted from Earth's surface were empty, their cargo holds sealed and unmanned. These ships were controlled by artificial intelligence, designed to simulate a mass evacuation. Earth's true defense force, humanity's hidden strength, remained far beneath the surface, in hidden underground bunkers and deep under mountains, where the Concord's surveillance couldn't reach. There, the real battle was being prepared. As the last of the simulated ships vanished into space, the sky darkened with the approach of the Concord fleet. Their massive warships, each larger than entire city blocks, emerged from hyperspace in a devastatingly precise formation. Hundreds of ships glided into position, their weapons primed and their sensors searching for the last remnants of human resistance. They expected the cities to be empty, humanity in retreat. They were prepared to bombard Earth's infrastructure, reducing it to rubble. The Concord had underestimated the human spirit and ingenuity. As the first ships of the alien fleet neared Earth, they saw nothing but the empty, desolate streets of the world's major cities. There was no one left to fight, no final stand to witness, nothing but the silence of a world giving in. They moved forward with confidence, their weapons charging for the strike that would begin their assault. But just as the first bombers launched their payloads, the ground beneath them trembled. Hidden deep within Earth's core, a series of defense platforms, camouflaged within the mountains and ocean floors, came to life. These platforms, built from the knowledge of alien technology that humans had secretly harvested over the past 5 years, activated their weapons systems. It was a deadly combination of energy cannons and electromagnetic pulses designed specifically to disable the Concord fleet's advanced systems. Without warning, bright beams of energy shot out from the surface, cutting through the void of space. The Concord fleet's sensors were unprepared for the attack. Massive energy blasts struck the ships, disorienting the aliens and damaging their shields. Some of the ships broke apart in a series of fiery explosions, their bodies twisted and torn apart by the sheer force of the unexpected assault. In the control room of Earth's defense, Admiral Jiao watched as the holograms of the Concord ships flickered and disappeared from their screens, one after another. The battle had shifted. Humans, it seemed, had outsmarted their invaders. They had known how to fight in ways the Concord couldn't have imagined. The Concord had expected a helpless Earth, ripe for destruction, but they had failed to account for human resilience, for humanity's refusal to simply be contained. More ships fell, their destruction visible in the night sky as fiery trails marked their end. But the battle wasn't over yet. The Concord responded quickly, recalibrating their systems and launching counterattacks with precise, deadly force. They underestimated the scale of Earth's defensive power, and as their ships advanced, they encountered another wave of attacks, this time from satellites hidden in low Earth orbit. Missiles with enhanced targeting systems, made from the alien technology humans had been reverse engineering, rained down on the Concord ships, creating even more chaos in their ranks. Back in the command center, Admiral Jiao clenched his fists. "Hold the line," he ordered. "We will not falter now." The holographic map before him showed the Concord fleet, half of their ships disabled, the remaining forces in disarray. It was clear that the battle was now tipping in humanity's favor. As the Concord struggled to regain control, it became evident that Earth was not the easy target they had assumed. But even as victory seemed within reach, a message flashed across Admiral Jiao's screen. It was from Ethbar, the alien scientist who had long warned the Concord of humanity's unyielding nature. "They are not as weak as we thought," Ethbar's message read. "Their resistance is stronger than any we've ever encountered. It is only a matter of time before they find a way to destroy us." The warning, though sent too late, rang clear. Humanity had learned to fight, to adapt, and to survive. The Galactic Concord's dominance, once unchallenged, was now crumbling before their eyes. Earth was no longer just a planet under alien surveillance, it had become a symbol of resistance, of defiance. The war had just begun. And the Galactic Concord had underestimated humanity's will to fight. The battle had been long, its toll on both sides immeasurable, but the fall of the Concord's fleet was a defining moment in the history of the galaxy. The once mighty empire that had ruled with ironclad hands for millennia was crumbling, and at the heart of it stood Earth, a planet that had long been the underdog, but now had become a symbol of defiance, strength, and unity. Admiral Jiao, alongside Captain Chen, stood on the bridge of the Liberation, a newly forged flagship that was the epitome of human ingenuity. The ship's hull gleamed in the light of distant stars, its sleek design a perfect blend of stolen Concord technology and humanity's own relentless pursuit of progress. It was a ship built to represent not just the defeat of an empire, but the birth of a new era. "Earth's victory isn't just our victory," Jiao remarked, his voice a quiet testament to the years of sacrifice and struggle. "It's the galaxy's victory." Captain Chen nodded, her eyes scanning the vast expanse of space that stretched out before them. The Liberation had been a long time coming, and now, it would lead the charge into uncharted territory, carrying with it the hope of a galaxy free from the tyranny of the Concord. The Arxer, a race of hybrid beings who had once been created by the Concord as servants, had joined forces with Earth and its allies. Their knowledge of the Concord's technology was invaluable, but it was the Cidians, the race whose homeworld had been destroyed by the Concord, that provided the final key. Together, the coalition had forged something unimaginable, an alliance between worlds that had once been subjugated, isolated, or forgotten. And now, they were united in purpose. "We've liberated our world," Maya spoke with a quiet resolve. "But there are still more out there that need our help." Admiral Jiao's expression hardened as the Liberation charted its course through the galaxy. The Concord's grip was far-reaching, and though their military might have been shattered, there were still remnants of their power scattered across distant star systems. The threat of rebellion was not yet gone. The remnants of the Concord, led by Kulux, a warlord and former commander in the Concord's military, were still plotting in the shadows. Kulux and his followers had retreated to the fringes of the galaxy, assembling an army to strike back against the growing coalition. Their belief in the old order, where the strong ruled and the weak served, still held sway among those who refused to accept the collapse of the Concord's empire. For them, the defeat of the Galactic Concord was not the end, but a challenge to be overcome. However, Earth and its new allies were ready. The technology they had developed in secret was beyond the Concord's wildest expectations. Earth's military forces, once weak and unprepared, had grown into a formidable force, their ships now powered by technologies that had been hidden away for years, technologies that the Concord had deemed impossible. The Arxer, whose creators had once sought to enslave them, had brought with them knowledge of temporal manipulation, the ability to create artificial wormholes and time distortions, giving humanity a significant edge in both defense and offense. The Cidians, with their advanced bioengineering, had enhanced humanity's physical capabilities, making their soldiers stronger, faster, and more resilient than ever before. As Admiral Jiao and Captain Chen led the charge to free more worlds, their fleet was unstoppable. They liberated Nexus 7, a planet once held by the Concord to suppress the Malari, a species known for their advanced mind control abilities. The Malari, once subdued by the Concord's technology, were now free and aligned with Earth's new vision. One by one, the systems that had been controlled by the Concord fell, not by force alone, but through unity and shared technology. When the Galactic Reformation Congress was convened, it was not in the grand halls of the old Concord citadels, but in a new, neutral space, a giant, transparent dome, floating above Earth, where species from all corners of the galaxy came together. There were no seats of dominance, no high chairs from which one species could rule over another. It was a place for true dialogue and cooperation. Admiral Jiao addressed the Congress, his voice resonating with authority. We will not build another empire, he declared, his eyes sweeping across the representatives from hundreds of species, each one more diverse than the last. We will build a true partnership of worlds, one where each species can govern itself while sharing knowledge, technology, and defense for the common good. The Assembly, though diverse and fraught with history, agreed to a new pact, the Galactic Cooperative. A partnership of free worlds, where each species would have the autonomy to govern their own people, but united in the pursuit of shared knowledge and peace. But even as peace began to settle across the galaxy, the remnants of the Concord, led by Kulovs, remained a lingering threat. His followers were spread out in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, clinging to the old ways, believing that the galaxy's natural order must be restored. They were not content with the peace that the Galactic Cooperative was forging. They sought to regain their lost power and restore the Concord's dominion. Admiral Jiao, aware of this growing danger, convened a new council with Chen and the other leaders of the free species. "We must be vigilant," Jiao said, his voice low but resolute. "Kulovs and his followers believe in the old ways. They will not accept our new order. We will stop them," Chen said firmly, standing beside him. She looked out the viewport at the stars, now filled with promise and hope. "We have the strength, the allies, and the knowledge to defend our future." With the war over, Earth had stepped into the role of protector and guide, using its newfound influence to shape the future of the galaxy. The Discovery, the first human ship to explore beyond the known universe, was sent on its maiden voyage, captained by Maya herself. As she gazed out into the vast unknown, she couldn't help but smile. "We were once the newcomers," she said, her voice filled with quiet pride. "Now, we welcome others." The galaxy was no longer ruled by the Galactic Concord, but by the united force of free species. Earth, once a small planet hidden in the far reaches of the cosmos, was now at the heart of a new cooperative order, a galaxy united by the shared ideals of freedom, peace, and exploration. The future was bright, and the stars, once distant and unknowable, were now a realm where humanity, alongside its allies, would forge its destiny. As Earth steps into its new role at the heart of a galaxy-wide alliance, the struggle against the remnants of the Galactic Concord is far from over. With humanity's newfound power, will they continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, or will the shadows of the past rise again? The fate of the galaxy now rests on the choices of those who dare to dream beyond the stars. What do you think will happen next? Will humanity thrive, or is the real battle only just beginning? Share your thoughts in the comments, we want to hear your theories.